Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Christine and I love to read dark and disturbing things. I'm super excited because it is Summerween and this is my Summerween vlog. It has definitely been a minute since I feel like I've done a vlog. I don't particularly think I'm great at them because I am kind of boring, but if you like staying home and doing little crafts and reading, then this might be for you. So this is all about Summerween. If you are not familiar, Gabby from Gabby Reads puts on a Summerween readathon every year, and this year is no different. It is going from, I'm looking at my cheat sheet, it's going from July 5th to the 12th, and I can already tell you because I am filming this afterwards that I went until today is the 22nd. Yeah, it's been a month, you guys. I feel like I have been reading so slowly, and I think it's because I started many very chunky books at the same time and ended up like in the middle of all of them. I'm sorting it out, okay? So it has been a slow month for reading, but also I feel like maybe I have been a little bit more active in like my day-to-day life and doing like more fun things that I haven't been focusing on reading as much, and that is okay. So I extended Summerween out to kind of fit for me to read two books. The first one I cannot find for the life of me is The Elementals by Michael McDowell. This was my second Michael McDowell book this year, the first one being Blackwater. And the second book is a book that's been on my TBR forever, and that is Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. He is the author of The Perks of Being a Wallflower. If you're familiar with that, I was not. And I randomly found this in the horror section quite a few years ago before I found BookTube. And I, was reading all the Stephen King things, and I really didn't know where to go from there. And I was just kind of randomly checking out the shelves, and I found this book. It sat there for a long time. I didn't realize, I don't think, how big it was because it doesn't look that bad, but this is 700 pages and has fairly small font, so wish me luck on that. I'm also going to be doing a few things, a little crafty things like a paint by number, some coloring, boring people things. So without further ado, let's hop into the vlog. Hey guys, checking in for Summerween. Today is actually Wednesday, which I know Summerween started on Saturday. Saturday for me, I went from working to going straight to a baseball game with my family and seeing fireworks there. And then on Sunday, we did something really fun. We went to something that I've seen come to town the last few years, and I've never been able to go, but I finally was able to go this year and convince my family to go with me. And it was the Paranormal Cirque. I think technically Paranormal Cirque 2. I will show a little bit of footage in between clips. I didn't really get a lot of footage because even though they encouraged it, I didn't want to disturb the people sitting behind me by having my phone out. And I also like to just kind of live in the moment and not worry about filming things. But Paranormal Circus has this really wonky looking tent, and it's basically a circus with no animals that has a darker theme, like a spooky theme to it. So you get up to the tent and you hear people screaming inside, and I'm just like on edge, instantly waiting for someone to jump scare me, which absolutely happened. And there's the actors are like walking around in all of their makeup and just kind of following people and staring at them and being all creepy. And then they have, before you go in to sit down, you can go through this little mini haunted house, which I did. And I have not been in a haunted house probably since I was a teen. My husband's never been into it, so we just never went. And I don't know why, like I am not scared of what's actually in there, but just the waiting for people to jump out at me, I was like clinging to my husband's shirt and just like, yeah. So then the show starts, and it was just wonderful. It was great. I absolutely loved it. It had the perfect blend of scariness and humor, lots of humor, like to break up that tension, and just amazing artists for everything from juggling to like roller skating type tricks. tightrope walking, some things I don't even know the name for, that big hamster wheel looking thing that spins, and just no net underneath them. And being that this is kind of, seems like, you know, like an offshoot kind of in a parking lot type production, I absolutely was scared for the people, thinking that anything could happen to them at any point. But it was just a super fun time. I highly recommend it. If this thing comes, if it comes to your town, you should check it out. I had a blast. So we did that on Sunday, and I did start listening to a book. I was listening to, as my audio book choice, The Last Housewife. I got this, I don't even remember, some book box years ago, and I remember there being a lot of hype about this book, but I didn't remember anything specific other than it was a thriller. So I started listening to this, and I DNF'd it at 42%. I will be unhauling this. So this is supposed to be about a woman who is like a bored housewife with a super rich husband who's out of town, and she's listening to a podcast and finds out that one of her college friends has died. And even though they're saying it was self-harm, she, for whatever reason, thinks that could not have happened in a million years. And goes home. The person that is running the podcast is also one of her friends from back home. So she goes home and is investigating this death. Now, she has not spoken to this friend in 8 years since they graduated, but they were just such good friends. And like, she knows, oh, she would never do this and she would never do that. Oh my gosh. How do you know? You don't even know her. You didn't even talk, like, you didn't even send an email, like a Facebook message, nothing in the last 8 years. Whatever. I'm going along with the story, and it takes us down a path where she is going into like these sex clubs, these like S&M clubs, and investigating these things. And it starts to come out that they had a past with their friend. So this was a friend group, and one of the friends had a dad that they all start getting really culty with, like a sex cult, like some weird trad wife / 50 Shades of Grey bullshit with their friend's dad. And we're just supposed to like think that's normal, that all 3 or 4 of these girls have this relationship with this dad. I had to tap out. I was like, this is gross. And I don't just mean like the sex stuff, like that's fine. We're talking about like them cleaning his house from top to bottom and being complete subservient in those ways that I was like, you know, if you've got kinks, that's cool. That's fine. If that's in the bedroom, if you're telling me your kink is being completely subservient, just basically stop going to college and serving this man with your friends / roommates. Who is your dad? One of their dads? I couldn't do it. I could not do it. It was just gross. It was just gross. Anyway, I DNF'd that. I think I'm going to start listening to My Throat in Open Grave. I've seen this one around a lot. I don't know anything what it's about. I'm just going in blind. But that one's available as the next audiobook. And I did start reading The Elementals by Michael McDowell. I'm actually hoping to finish this today, but this one is a perfect summer read, or so it seems so far. It is about this family in the South that owns like these 3 homes on this island. And it reminds me of The Woman in Black because it's only an island part of the day. Like when the tide comes in, you can only get to it during certain parts of the day. So it's very secluded. They're the only people on this little island. And there's 3 houses that are identical, built all next to each other. And 2 of the houses are being occupied by this family. And the 3rd house, they just refer to it as the 3rd house, has never been occupied because there's just some kind of like weirdness to it that no one really explains. It's just been like that creepy old house since they were kids, and they're scared of it. So now that no one has been to this place in so many years, we are following along with this family, and one of them is a 13-year-old girl who has never been to this little island. So she's checking out this house, and now over all these years, there's like a big sand dune that's like covering most of the house and one side of it. And she just finds this fascinating. She wants to take pictures of it. She wants to investigate. And when she starts peeking in the window, she's seeing things that should not be there. This one is definitely a very slow build. This is a Southern Gothic book, but I only have about 50 pages left. I'm hoping to finish it today. Like I said, I have not been reading very quickly lately, but a lot of this has been just really slowly building like this weird family relationship. And while I read Blackwater a few months ago and really loved it, I felt like Blackwater was really charming from the beginning, and it sucked me in, and I was like really into this family. This family's just weird. There's a weird relationship between even the 13-year-old daughter and her father. Like, I know they're supposed to be from New York, so they're not, or they've been living in New York the last few years. So like one of them, the dad like speaks with a lot of like curse words and saying a little weird stuff in front of his daughter that I wouldn't normally think you would say. Or like goes naked sunbathing in front of her, and it's not supposed to be creepy at all. I don't know. I find their relationship very strange, like offering his daughter alcohol or drugs. Like, it's weird. So I'm not as connected to this family as I was with the one from Blackwater. Though there are a lot of similarities. They're both very wealthy families. They're both from the South. There's a lot of similarities between the two stories, I will say. Though so far, I like Blackwater more. We'll see if my mind is not blown away at the end of the last 50 pages. Oh, really quickly, I did want to mention I have been working on a painting. I did start it before Summerween, but I picked it up at Michael's last year. That's like a paint by number painting, and I had picked up two. One was like a haunted house, which I finished. I'm pointing over there like you could see. I finished last year. And then I had this one that looked way more springy because it has lots of like floral things. So I've been working on that. I did not realize it had so many super tiny little spots. So as I work on that, I'll try to show you some of it. I don't know if I'll finish it. And I did also pick up this spooky summer coloring book, which I thought was perfect for Summerween. I did start coloring just a tiny bit this morning, and I do have some alcohol markers. I know that these are like all over TikTok or whatever, but I don't really know how to blend or do anything. So I'm really just trying to take my time, and I did try to do a little bit with the moon there with the different colors. And I don't know if you could tell with the tree. You could see I screwed up a little bit, but I have been trying to use a couple different browns and kind of blending them together. There's like a million videos on this, and the way that some people can make these look so beautiful and blended and add stuff to it, I think is amazing. So I think I just want to try my hand at it without knowing anything, and then maybe I'll watch some videos and really get into it. I'm not like a super artistic person, so I was never good in art. So I don't really know what I'm doing, but I think it's fun to, while I'm watching YouTube videos, I like to do something with my hands, like crochet or color or something. So that's what I'm going to be working on this week. And I hope that I have more time to check in and not wait until the end of the week to check in. So today I'm excited. It's because it's super rainy and gloomy out, and I am so happy for it. And maybe you could hear outside, I do have the window open, sorry about that. But it has been so hot here, and where I live on the West Coast, when I moved here like 20 years ago, when I was looking for an apartment, they were like no places, no homes or apartments had air conditioning. And when I would ask like, oh, do you have air conditioning? They would literally laugh at me and say, we don't need it here. It's not hot enough. Let me tell you, over the last 20 years, it has gotten hotter and hotter every year and for more days. Like it used to be just like a couple days were really hot. And now it seems like it's like turning into a necessity. You know, 85 degrees might not seem too hot to people that live anywhere else in the States, but without air, it's pretty hot. And that's where it's been lately. And we haven't even hit like 100 degrees or anything. So I'm excited for the fresh air and the breeze and the rain. All right, I'm gonna go work on reading my stuff and I will check in with you later on. Hello, today is Thursday and I'm just doing a quick check-in because I did finish the elementals, but before I talk about this, I have to talk about something so sad. So around this time of year, usually I see a lot of people starting to post all of the Halloween stuff that they're finding. And at least where I live, I think on the West Coast, we don't get those things quite as quickly. And I had to go to At Home yesterday, and At Home is where I'm seeing a lot of people posting where they're finding stuff. So I was a little excited to see if they had any Halloween stuff out, but when I got there, there's a big sign saying they're going out of business and not a single Halloween thing. So I don't know if that means they're not going to get anything, that they're just going to sell whatever in the store, but we already lost Joann's. We lost At Home now. I no longer shop at Target, so I feel like the Halloween decor shopping is really just kind of dead at this point. I know that Michael's will have stuff and I'll check like Home Goods and things like that, but I don't know, it's just kind of a bummer. I did get a fun package today though. I had ordered some stickers from Spook Show Babe on Etsy. I'll link her shop down below, but she, you know, I ordered this a little bit late for Summerween, but there were some Summerween stickers I wanted for my journal. And so I did get a Camp Crystal Lake sticker. Jason just chilling on a flamingo. And then I thought this picture was just too cute. This is Sam's sunscreen with the little butt sticking out. And I got the sheet here because I really love that. I love all of it. And then a few things I got that are not Summerween related. These I have almost purchased several times from there, so I'm going to hang on to them for like Kritz. And I got this. And then the last thing I got was the sticker and a matching bookmark. So I'm going to be using this bookmark in my new read right now because I love the old school like colors and style of this. So check out her shop. She has lots of really cute things. But I did finish the elementals, and let me preface this by saying that Gothic literature does not always work on me. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it's just too slow for me. And when I get to like the twist or like the big ending or the big reveal, I'm just kind of like, okay, it's all right. I had very high expectations for this because I absolutely loved Blackwater by Michael McDowell, which I read earlier in the year. That was also Southern Gothic, very slow moving, but there are a lot of parallels between the two, but I feel very differently about them. This one, I just did not connect with any of the characters. They were all kind of quirky and I want to say strange, but I mean, quirky is the word for it, but not in a way that I could connect in any way. Like I said before, the 13-year-old daughter and father's relationship was really weird. She doesn't even call him by dad. She calls him by his first name, which I was already confusing kind of who is who in this family because they all have kind of weird names. But I just don't know. Like, this takes place in the late 70s, early 80s. And I don't know what child was calling their parent by their first name at that time. Plus, if you're from the South, like, I guess that we're supposed to get the feeling that they are different, right? They're quirky and they're living in New York, but I don't know. I could always tell when I meet someone from the South. They refer to everything you say, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. So the fact that I just find it hard to believe, but that doesn't really matter. I just didn't connect to the characters, and I had really high expectations for this, which is my own fault. It just felt kind of flat for me. A lot of people disagree with that, so please don't listen to my opinion. Check it out for yourself. But it was just too slow for characters I didn't connect with. The last quarter of this book has all the action, and even though that was very different from any haunted house book I've read before, and it is very appropriate for summer, I was just okay with it. So I think that this is a 3 or a 3.5 for me. The next book I am going to read is Imaginary Friend. I just read the first chapter, and these pages, first of all, this thing is 650 pages, but the pages are so thin, they're almost like Bible pages, and the writing is really small. So pray for my eyes, and I hope that I'm into this because I have been slogging through some longer books at the same time as all this is going on, and things are just not going super great for my reading lately. I hope this is one that I get really invested in. Oh yeah, and last but not least, I did start coloring. I tried to do, I think I said I was going to try to blend. You guys, I think that it's partially the markers because I was able to do some kind of shading there a little bit and in the tree. But when I tried to do this sky, it did not come out the way I wanted. I'll have to watch some videos, but I do think it's also just difficult to work with these markers. Make sure if you're using the markers that you're putting a page behind it because it will absolutely bleed through. But yeah, I gave Kitty a little mouth, and I gotta color in some more, but I did get started on that. And I think that's all I got for you. I'm going to try to hit up a farmer's market later today and pick up some stuff from the library that's been waiting for me and is probably going to get put back if I don't go pick it up soon. So I do work tomorrow, so I probably won't check in until Saturday, which I think is considered the last day of Summerween. I might extend it out just because I haven't had a chance to really get into this yet, but we'll see how it goes. I'll talk to you later. think this is great lighting, but we're going with it. I am checking in. It is Monday, and while I know that Summerween is officially over, I am not one to let the calendar dictate when Summerween is over or Halloween is over, and all I could see are reflections in my classes. Sorry about that. But I have been reading Imaginary Friend, and I am on page 273. I'm about 40% done with this. I'm going to say that this book seems to be a lot more than what's on the back of the book. The back of the book says that this is a story about a mother and a son who are escaping an abusive relationship. They move out somewhere where they can't be found and start a new life. And the son, Christopher, goes missing for 6 days. When he comes back, he is not the same. And he is told that he needs to build a tree house by Christmas. That is all the back of the book says. And that is really just the setup of this book, because I can tell you, and without it being a spoiler, that by like probably the 25% mark, all of that has already happened. Like, he has already built the tree house and all of these things. So you still have like 500 pages left after that. So it's going to be a lot more than what it says it is on the back, which is good since that sounded very vague. But he does have an imaginary friend. I'm a little thrown off because this imaginary friend is basically, I don't even know how to describe this. Like, he's talking either to a cloud or a plastic bag that he's hung up on a tree branch, and he talks to it. Now, I don't know that I ever had an imaginary friend. Like, I definitely talked to my stuffed animals when I was a kid, and I truly believed that they had feelings and thoughts and all that stuff, right? I knew that was probably not true, but I like to believe that it was. Those were my imaginary friends. I guess they weren't imaginary, they were things, but I guess I just thought an imaginary friend would be someone that you're kind of seeing or hallucinating or pretending is there, not a freaking plastic bag like American Beauty blowing in the wind. That's beside the point. So it is more about what happens when he goes into this treehouse that he builds and the things that happen after that. So he does go missing and he comes back different. But when he comes back different, I guess I assumed he'd be like, a lot of times in horror books, when they come back different, they come back scary or wrong. He actually comes back, I guess, improved, because when he comes back, he no longer has dyslexia. He can read just fine. He's doing much better in school. He understands math. He, like, certain things that he didn't like about himself that he was really struggling with have gotten better for him. Not to say that you're improved if you don't have dyslexia. I did not mean it like that. But things start getting better for him. He and his mom were struggling financially, and something happens that helps that situation because of him being gone. So things are different, but kind of in a better way. Also, him going into this treehouse, I won't say what is happening. First of all, I don't fully understand it yet. When he comes back, he's kind of suffering like these like intense headaches and fevers and nosebleeds and stuff. And all of that is reminding me very much of Nosferatu by Joe Hill. I'm not going to say that what happens in the treehouse is the same as Nosferatu. It's just that aspect of maybe going into somewhere that you don't belong, and then you come back and you have these like physical ailments. So it'll be interesting to see where this is going. It also reads very differently because I can tell that this is not a horror author writing this book that was promoted as horror. I'm not familiar with it, but it says that he wrote The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I've obviously heard of that, but I have no idea what it's about. And the author also co-wrote screenplays for like Beauty and the Beast and Wonder. So he's not a horror author, and this does not read like a horror book at all. While even though there's like creepy scenes or things that are kind of scary, it just has a different tone overall. I don't know how else to describe it, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. It's kind of nice that it's different from what I'm used to reading, but because I don't really know what to expect. But at the same time, it's, I don't know how I feel about it yet. Maybe I'll find out in the end. I do think his writing a lot of times is very short, simple sentences, and I do find that a little weird. I mean, it's easy to read, but it's just matter of fact. I don't want to like try to find a instance, but just very short, simple sentences all put together. So I'm not sure if that's done intentionally, if that is part of the style for this book, if that's how this author always writes. It's a little stuttery, but it's not, I don't hate it. I don't know what else to say. I don't dislike it, but it is kind of weird because it's not super engaging at times. I do think he does a decent job with the characterization of the mother and the son in this story, and that's probably what's really keeping me going. And as well as Christopher's friends at school, they're pretty well fleshed out as far as like, you know, grade school kids. There's other characters though that kind of read off to me, and like they don't read like real people. They read like caricatures of people. Even though there is a lot of like background story being given, like there is a particular young woman in here who is very religious, and all of her motives for what she does are based off of what she thinks Jesus will approve of. And it's so over the top that it is kind of comical in a way. I mean, not really funny, but it's hard to take serious because it's just so over the top and extreme. And it's like, like I know that there's people out there that probably really think that way, but I think it's a little more complex than that. And so it's weird to have this mix of characters where we have some that I think are really well fleshed out, and you could tell like the motives for the mom are always to make sure her son is okay. You could feel how much she cares for her son and how much she wants to go out of her comfort zone to make a better life for him and for them together. And then you have this like there's a couple characters that are really like caricatures. And so it's a weird blend, because it's kind of like, am I supposed to be taking this seriously or not? Because some of them just are hard to think about as real people. All right, I think I'm rambling a lot. I will probably just check in one more time when I'm done with this, and then I will end this vlog. I know I'm going over, but I really only had 2 books I wanted to read for Summerween, and this is one of them. And I found that I started way too many books, and it's really causing me a lot of anxiety for having like several. I currently have Weave World, I have Hunger of the Gods, I have this one, and I have Dungeon Crawler Carl #3, all really chunky books that I just kept starting books and be like, oh, well, I'm going to read this for this, and I'm going to read this for that. Now I have like 4 books that I've started that I'm like, shit, like I need to finish something. So I just really want to focus on this because I am most invested in this right now. I am also listening to Dungeon Crawler Carl, and I'll feel a little bit better once I have gotten some of those books done. All right, I'm done rambling. I'll see you later. All right, you guys, it's the final check-in, and is it overdue? Yes. Today is like the hell day is today? The 22nd. I did not finish this book as quickly as I thought I would. And I'm going to apologize in advance because you probably hear some sound in the background because I can hear it, so you can probably hear it. But they are power washing the windows next door or something. But I need to get this video wrapped up because it's been going on for too long. Before I tell you my final thoughts on Imaginary Friend, I had to show you these adorable earrings I found at Torrid. These little Summerween earrings. I'm not so much into all the Summerween stuff I've been seeing, but I could not resist. We have the little watermelons. We have a ghost inside a flamingo. Those are my favorite. I don't wear earrings very often, but I could not resist getting these. And I found this Bride of Frankenstein in Malibu t-shirt that I thought was perfect for this vlog. So I will probably be recording my intro and outro right after this. But yeah, I did finish this book. I'm trying to remember where I was when I left off because this book is very long. It is a little over 700 pages, and I just want to start by saying I like long books as long as I'm invested in them, and I was definitely invested in this. I will say that probably about 70% of this book, as I was reading, was just 4 stars for me. The world building was great. The characterization for the most part was good. I did tell you there was a few kind of caricatures of characters in here, and I stand by that. But for the most part, we really got a feeling of how much this mom would go for her son, and kind of this whole world in general. Probably around the halfway point, this story started to remind me a little bit of Needful Things by Stephen King. Only in that, like, the town, it kind of has this like mass hysteria thing that happens. The whole town is acting a little bit kooky, and things, I feel like, kind of just keep ramping up and then stay there for a really long time. So it's like story building. A little after halfway, we're like, holy shit, like this is gonna come to an end. Like, how could there be so much of this book left? And it just kind of stays there for a really long time. So that was a little bit interesting. But then, and I was really liking it. 4 stars. I was like, this could be 5 stars depending on how the ending goes. And then I kind of struggled with the last probably 150 pages of this book, which seems like nothing in comparison to the whole 700 pages. But there's kind of a twist in here, which I thought was kind of cool. And then I did not like where it went from there. There were a few little drops of religion throughout here. Of course, we have a character who, like, her whole thing, I think I told you, was that she was super religious, was always looking for signs from Jesus. I'm fine with that. We have a character like that. But when a book gets a little bit preachy, I struggle with that. That's just not my thing. It could be your thing, and that's fine. I just personally don't love the inclusion of religion, especially if it's in a preachy way. It's not like from this perspective of an outside view or a look at religious trauma. It's just too much for me. And this book got very preachy at the end. It got very like Christian heavy, and I still like the book as a whole, but I really didn't like how it ended. And I don't just mean the religious aspect. The ending was kind of messy. So the ending was kind of messy, and we have like this slow build throughout, and this, like, I don't want to say crescendo, but, you know, like this building of tension and an action. And we get to this like point where you're like, okay, we're gonna find out what's going on and really like tackle this enemy, right? But it stays there, and then it just gets kind of messy. So the ending I did not love. So it did not move it from a 4-star to a 5-star. If anything, it made me want to lower my rating because of the religious aspect. And honestly, this book does not have to be this long. I love long books, and I usually don't have the criticism of it should be cut down, but this one really should have been cut down. 150 to 200 pages, easy. There is a lot of repetition in here at this point, and there's like a phrase that he kept using. There's a couple phrases, but one of them was using like the cool side of a pillow, both figuratively and literally. I swear to you, it's in here 10 to 15 times, the cool side of a pillow. And at first I was like, oh, that's kind of a interesting like analogy or whatever for something that's cool and comforting. But then it just kept happening, and I was like, yeah, we get it. Like, now you've ruined it. I wish I had this on my e-reader so I could actually see how many times it's said. Even by the time I noticed it was quite often, I was like, it's got to be at least 10 times, 10 to 15 times. So the repetition, the religion, the preaching, and the length really kind of made this not be a 5-star for me. Do I recommend it? I think I still do recommend it. It was a very interesting read. Like, I guess it would be called like epic horror because it's so long. I do really love the idea of this and the building of it, but I just wish it could have finished as strong as it started. And I think that for a lot of people, the length is going to be kind of a deal breaker, because I know a lot of people, especially horror readers, don't love the long books. I do love long books as long as like there's a reason for it. He doesn't like go into as crazy of like a tangent as like Stephen King does. So he does really try to get you to feel for all of these characters. I just wish it didn't get so preachy at the end. And I do try to overlook that a bit, because I know that's like a personal thing for me, that I just don't appreciate it. Boy, the synopsis on this really does not even scratch the surface of what this book is about. That is basically the setup, and there's a lot to this story. So if you like chunky books and you like, everyone says this is horror, but I felt like it was more fantasy in a way. It was fantasy with horror elements, but not really going into full super horror. Like, I feel like this could just be fantasy, like a darker fantasy book, and not be considered horror. But although I do see why people call it that, it just doesn't ever go too far, which is kind of what I like about horror, is that it like pushes the boundaries. It doesn't ever go too far to a point where I think someone who's new to horror would be like, oh, I can't handle that. So this might be a good gateway book into getting into horror if you are a fantasy reader. That said, this book has been on my shelf forever, and I am so glad that I finally got to it. But yeah, this was my second and last book for this Summerween of 2025. Seriously, I don't know why I picked such a long book, other than this has been on my many a TBR and I finally wanted to get to it, and I'm glad I did. Today I am going to try to finish my painting. I'm very close, and I need to get it off my table because we purchased a new kitchen table, which was long overdue. Like, our chairs are completely trashed, and we need to move this old one out so we have room to put the new one in, and my painting stuff is all over it. So I need to finish that today. And oh, I did finish my coloring. I don't think I showed you. Let me grab it. I did only do one picture because I've been busy both trying to catch up on my reading. God, my hair's so long. I get my hair cut and colored tomorrow, so I know it's rough. I was doing all the other things, so I only did get to one picture. So I got this. I think I might have tried to show you the sky. I tried to do some blending. You could see like the line where it, I guess the water kind of sat, so that kind of stinks. I do have to play around with that some more, but and the kitty, I gave him like white spots and a little mouth. Pretty simple, but I had fun with it. It's very relaxing, kind of like the paint by number. I find relaxing because I don't have to think. I'm just filling in the colors, and I don't know, I find it to be just a relaxing summer experience. So this was from the Spooky Summer book. I think that's about it, and I had a wonderful time. It's time for me to finally move on from Summerween, and I'm sad about it. Honestly, why isn't Summerween all month long? Just saying. Gabby, I'm sure you're not watching this, but if you are, we need a longer Summerween. All right, I'm gonna go try to finish up my painting, and I will show it to you if it's done. Bye. All right, guys, thank you for joining me on my little Summerween adventures. I did try to bite off more than I can chew, so I did not get it done in the time, and you know, that's okay. Sometimes our reading is a little slower than usual. I really didn't want it to deter me from picking up a larger book and just picking small books because they were easy to get through. I have some chonkers that I want to get to, and I'm glad I did. I actually do like large books, and I like getting really invested. It just makes for much slower content making on BookTube, but I just have to accept that that's okay, because my reading comes first and content comes second. Without the reading, I don't have the content, so that's just the way it is. I would love to hear if you guys participated in Summerween, what you read, what your favorite part was. Did you do any like activities like making s'mores, which I did actually do, and I didn't film it because it was just a little family moment, but yeah, I solidified that I do not like s'mores. I just don't. But I tried them again for the first time since I was like a kid. And my son absolutely loved them and ate many, to the point that I was like worried he was going to get sick from it. But, you know, fun times. While I might have failed Summerween according to the rules, you know what? Sometimes you just got to make your own rules. And sometimes you got to celebrate the way that you like to celebrate, whether it's Halloween, Summerween, whatever, and just do your thing. This is the end of this vlog. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next video. Stay spooky.